Hi everybody, welcome to another demo with Childry, not a chat with Childry, and this is where I get to find out what it's like to be a customer and get a product demo virtually presented to me. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Ehlers, who is an East Coast manager in the US for Andrew Alliance. And he's
Hi, everybody.
Hi Tom, how are you?
How are you?
Very well, thank you. And today we're actually going to follow up on a demo Childry we did with Andrew Alliance a couple of months ago, where Tom's colleague Alma actually taught me through the Pipette Plus. But today, Tom, we're going to be talking about how the Andrew Plus and Pipette Plus work in conjunction together. So it's actually building on the demo we had a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
fantastic,
good.
fantastic.
Sounds good.
Now, before we actually run through the demo, Tom, perhaps you tell people a little bit about your role, your background, and Andrew Alliance as well.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rizwan. It's an honor to talk to you. I'm really happy to do this. So thank you so much.
No, thanks.
I'm excited to be a part of the Andrew Alliance team. We're focused a lot on helping customers optimize their liquid handling needs, both within the life science and diagnostic environments. My background is a blended set of experiences from diagnostics and research, and I've been involved with sales and applications development now for several years, and really excited to be able to continue on with Andrew Alliance and to really help people get a sense of what's possible with innovative liquid handling solutions. So it's great to be here.
Fantastic. So what are you going to demonstrate today?
So what I'm going to show you all today is basically a continuation of what you and Alma had talked about with Pipette Plus, and to talk a little bit about how the tools that we have, Pipette Plus and our pipetting robot Andrew Plus, can work together in laboratory workflows and complement each other. The heart and soul of protocol design and execution is, of course, the OneLab application that we have, which I'm going to show you in more detail in a little bit. But OneLab lays a foundation to allow these two tools to be used together for method development and the actual scale up of liquid handling protocols. So for example, you can start with Pipette Plus to do two things. One is to enhance your manual pipetting technique as well as your execution of protocols using an interface that allows you to keep complete control and track of what you're doing. And then once that method has been established, you can then transfer it immediately over to Andrew Plus to be fully automated and let him do the work for you. So if you're developing methods that use a combination of single and 8-channel pipettes, then you can enable seamless transfer between Pipette Plus and Andrew Plus.
Fantastic. Well, what I'll do is I'm going to switch over to speaker view so that you can demo properly the
Sounds
system
good.
and people can get a proper view of what you're doing. So I'll switch over now.
So I'm going to go ahead and move my camera around, everybody. So just bear with me if it gets a little wobbly, so you'll be able to see what's going on here. So as you can see, on my desk, I've got the Pipette Plus Smart Stand over here, and then I've got Andrew Plus right next to it as well. The Pipette Plus Smart Stand provides essentially a docking station for the pipettes that we offer with Pipette Plus and Andrew Plus. And one of the key things that we are able to do is to provide a broad dynamic range of pipetting. So if you have low volume needs down to 0.2 microliters, or if you want to do high volume pipetting up to 10 ml, we have pipettes that can accommodate your needs very nicely. Now you'll notice here, for example, there are 4 positions on the Smart Stand, so up to 4 pipettes can be stored there. And you may be thinking, well, if I want to go ahead and use those on Andrew Plus, what do I need to do? Well, basically what you do is you simply put an adapter onto the pipette in order for it to be grabbed by Andrew's 2 magnetic fingers, which are right here, basically. And he is able to use those fingers to grab onto the pipettes and then move them around his variable deck here that you see when conducting a liquid handling experiment. So pretty cool stuff. Let me move this back here for a second. Let me show you what that's all about. So for example, here I have one of our 8-channel pipettes that we can use for liquid handling experiments. If I want to use this by hand, all I have to do literally is just hold it in my hand, and as I execute a protocol, as Alma showed us last time, You just hold it and press a button and then follow the prompts through the protocol itself. But if I want to just automate that protocol and say, you know what, my arms are getting tired, I don't want to do this anymore, I want Andrew to take care of it for me, all I have to do is put an adapter onto the pipette itself. And that's what that is right here. So what we do is we simply set our pipette into the adapter as shown. Okay, and then this comes in two pieces. So we want to put the back on. We want to put the pipette into the back side first. Put it on top. Snap the enclosures, and we're ready to go. And then that goes over here, right onto Andrew's right arm, which we call the tool stand. And that's right over there. So now that 8-channel 300 microliter pipette is ready to be used by Andrew Plus, courtesy of the adapter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few more, because my protocol that I'm going to be running for you requires a few of these. So I'm just going to add an adapter onto my single channel pipette like so. I'm going to put that, and I'm going to put him over there. Hang on. Put that over there. And then we'll do the same thing for one of our larger volume pipettes, which is our 5 ml pipette. One of the things that's worth noting with this one is that all of our pipettes are color coded. So you'll notice that this has a green button on top. You'll notice that the orange, that our 300 milliliter pipette has an orange button on top. So what we have done is we've color coded all of our pipettes for ease of identification. That way there's no guesswork in terms of which ones are which, basically. So what I have here is essentially a setup now that's ready to go for a liquid handling demonstration using Andrew Plus. Now, what I've set up today is a simple protocol that won't take that long to run, and I'll narrate through what we're doing here. What we're looking at is essentially what comes in a typical starter configuration for Andrew Plus. So you'll get some tip insertion dominoes, or actually specifically you'll get 3 tip insertion dominoes, one that will hold 5 ml tips like this, 2 that hold our single and multi-channel pipette tips, a microplate domino, a microtube domino, a reservoir domino, a centrifuge tube domino. In this case, I have a 15 mil centrifuge tube domino, and I've got an extra microplate domino here just for fun. So typically you'll have an assortment of dominoes that you can get started with, but we can configure Andrew Plus to meet specific application needs. So if you want more dominoes, or if you want specific dominoes, if you don't want a few different ones, but you want several of the same type, we can make those available for you as well. Now, what I'm going to do here is show you how the protocol looks in the eyes of OneLab, which is our protocol design and execution software. So what you're seeing right here is a virtual bench that describes the method that I'm going to be running today. And it's a simple method that involves the examples of Andrew Plus's single and 8-channel pipetting capabilities. So what we're going to do is we're going to move PBS into a reservoir, and then from there we're going to transfer that using our multi-channel pipette into our 96 well plate, and then we're going to systematically add 4 different reagents in duplicate to the pipette using single channel pipetting to the 96 well plate to show how you can specifically identify where your reagents want to go. So very straightforward. So I'm going to click on execute, and then from here we'll go to an available experiment setup screen, which allows me to take a look at what's available to me for running the particular experiment that I want to execute. Just need to double check something here. Okay, so when an experiment is ready to go, you'll see a runtime estimate, and then you'll also see a graphic representation of the pipettes that are going to be used for the experiment. That way you can use that as a way of confirming that you have the pipettes on board that you want to go ahead and run. So I click on that. Then that takes me to a really handy materials list. So if I want to double check to make sure that I've got what I need to do the experiment, I can then scroll down through this list and it will show me everything I need to have ready for this experiment. So it shows me that I'm using my Andrew Plus robot, shows me what pipettes I'm using, tips, the domino blocks that we have. Now, dominoes are labware holders that are designed to hold specific pieces of commonly used labware that laboratories run every day. Section on reagents, and then other materials that include our microplate as well as our reservoir. And if everything looks good, then I can go ahead and proceed to the next, my next screen to show what the actual bench layout will look like. One of the nice features of this particular screen is that it tells me how many tips I'm going to need. Because one of the things that Andrew can do is visualize the number of tips on the deck. So if you're short tips, he'll let you know before the experiment actually starts. So that way you can fix that and there's no error. Okay, so very handy to have that. So now everything looks good. I'm going to click on continue. And then one of the really cool things I like about this is the bench preparation layout. You'll see here, there's a full layout of what Andrew's deck looks like. And so this is what he's expecting to see when he executes an experiment. If I click on each of the blocks, for example, I'll get a close-up look as to what they are. So literally what Andrew's doing is he's taking a picture of everything he sees on the bench. So he's reading the layout of this particular tip insertion domino. He's reading codes that are found on it, one of which is a QR code that identifies the specific domino itself. And then he's also reading a 2D matrix barcode that's specific to the consumable that's associated with that domino. In this case, it would be the tips themselves. Okay. And then the overall layout is what Andrew expects to be looking for. So what you want to do is make sure that all of your stuff is laid out on this map the way that Andrew says it is, and you're good to go. There are a couple of boxes here that we want to click on because they identify specific reagents that we're going to use, and we need to let Andrew know that we verify that the volumes that we need for the experiment are there. So, and I know that there are, so I just click on labware volume checked. And then moving on to the next block, you'll see the red one changes to blue. So we click on the next red one, make sure that we check our volume there, and make sure we have our tube right where it needs to be, which is right here. And then once we're ready to go, we start our experiment. And then you'll see checking in progress coming up on the screen. I'm going to pan back a little bit. I'll move my laptop away. Okay, so what's happening now is Andrew is basically warming up to do the actual run that's going to be done here. And I'm able to monitor his activities from my laptop, and I can take my laptop pretty much anywhere in the lab if I want to. So it doesn't have to literally be right next to the robot. So if I've got the robot set up in one part of the lab and I need to go back to the other side to do some more work, I can take my laptop with me and keep OneLab in view so I know what's going on with my robot. So what's happening right now is Andrew is using a light and a camera that's in his hand to visually inspect the bench to make sure that everything that was on that map that I just showed you actually is in place. If something's out of place or if any tips are missing, he will let me know by beeping at me and then putting a message up on the computer screen saying, hey, I'm missing some stuff. You got to fix this before we move on. Now the pipettes themselves are connected to Andrew by a Bluetooth connection. So any changes to pipetting mode or volume or any other parameters such as mixing steps, those are all automatically transmitted to the pipettes themselves. And now we're underway. In a way, Andrew is a lot like an audio-visual device because he makes noises. He'll let you know. He'll let you know when he's happy. He'll let you know when he's not happy. And that way, if you're not in close proximity to him, that's okay because he'll make noises to let you know how he's doing and how he's feeling. So you don't have to babysit him when he's executing a liquid handling experiment. It's a walk-away solution. Now, what's happening here is that the pipette tip cone is being analyzed geometrically by our optical localization module. And what that allows Andrew to do in conjunction with analyzing tip geometry, which he's about to do as well, is to determine the extent to which the tip needs to be lowered for aspirating and dispensing purposes. Now, this only happens once when a particular type of pipette and pipette tip are being used. This doesn't happen each time. So if I'm doing repetitive steps with the same pipette and tip, we won't be doing that over and over again. What's happening now is an example of mixing at the source. So I am literally mixing my water, or which is pretending to be PBS, 3 times before we actually dispense that into the reservoir that's right next door. Now, what Alma did last time is she showed you how these steps can be executed manually through prompts to the analyst on the bench. So essentially, what we're doing is we're taking all of those prompts and we're having them automatically be executed by Andrew Plus by virtue of his communication with OneLab. What we have here now is a second application of water masquerading as PBS into the reservoir. Then we blow out our excess, as we did before, and then Andrew brings the pipette over to the waste bin, ejects the tip, and then puts the first pipette back onto his right arm, which we call the tool stand. Now we're going to move on to a phase of this experiment that showcases 8-channel pipetting capabilities using the 8-channel pipette that we have on deck. Now, this particular 8-channel pipette has a working range of 10 to 300 microliters. So for most low to mid-range applications, this is a good pipette to have on your deck. And again, we're going to do a brief check of tip cone positioning. And then we'll grab our tips and move on to the next step. Now, because the vision camera algorithm is so effective, you'll notice that Andrew Plus grabbed the first complete row of tips. It didn't go to the row that only has 2 of them. So it's the eye that Andrew has is pretty smart. So it recognizes where it needs to go versus where it shouldn't go when it comes to grabbing pipette tips. And again, we're going to go over to our reservoir over here, and we're going to aspirate from our reservoir using our 8-channel pipette tip. Now, we actually have a few different reservoir options to think about. This is one of the standard reservoir Dominoes that we carry. So this has 2 10 ml inserts that are available for you to use. But we also have the capacity to use a large volume reservoir that can hold up to 200 milliliters. So if you want to do high volume multi-channel filling of, say, multiple deep well microplates or standard microplates, for example, you have the ability to do that as well. Now, some of the modes that we can operate in with Andrew Plus include forward mode, repetitive mode, as well as reverse pipetting. So if you're working with samples that have a particularly low volume or happen to be particularly viscous, and you want to maximize your pipetting accuracy with those, you do have the ability to automate reverse pipetting if you wish as well. All right, so that phase is done. So now Andrew's going to go ahead and put the 8-channel pipette back. And then for the last phase of the experiment that we're going to run, he's going to go and grab his single-channel version of the 10 to 300 microliter pipette that we carry. Now, for this part of the experiment, what we're going to do is we're going to use single-channel pipetting to pipette in duplicate 4 different reagents into specific locations or specific wells within the 96 well plate. Okay, there we go. Now, you might be thinking, well, how big is Andrew Plus? I mean, is he small enough to fit in my lab? And you know, he's pretty space and bench friendly within the laboratory. He's about 43 inches wide with his arms out on both sides. It's about 2 feet tall, and he has a variable depth based upon the number of Dominoes that you have on the deck itself. The modularity of Andrew's deck allows you as a user to have as many as 3 rows of Dominoes for various experimental requirements. So your depth is going to vary between about 21 and 29 inches. So he can fit within certain laminar flow hoods and biosafety cabinets, as well as be comfortable on the bench. Now, what's happening now is we're shifting to mixing at the destination. Before we did it at the source, this time we're mixing at the destination. So you'll see 3 mixes. 1, 2, 3. The other thing that you'll notice too is that we have an air bottom cushion being aspirated into the pipette tip, which is one of the key parameter settings that we can select when executing a protocol with Andrew Plus. So if I have samples that are particularly volatile or that are prone to dripping, I can have an air bottom cushion come up, and you'll see it now. See that? Little air bottom cushion was brought up to basically isolate and protect my sample so it doesn't drip. And then from here, I go and I do my mixing. Now, our labware holders, which we call Dominoes, are designed to work with all common labware. So most, if not all, of the things that you already have in the lab are going to fit into these Dominoes. That said, if you have a particular piece of labware that is unique and is, or not, well, fairly unique, but is a must-have, and you say, hey Tom, I've got to use this. I've got to use this particular tube or plate. Can you make a domino for us that fits that? And the answer 99% of the time is yes, we can, because that piece of labware is going to be relatively common. And we have a very well commoditized process for development of a domino. And we have a very well commoditized process for the development of a domino. So that is certainly something that's worth talking to us about, and we'll be happy to run those specifications for you if needed. Having run this experiment before, what you'll end up with is something that looks like this. Typically, when we bring up the subject of something that's custom made, people immediately think, "Oh my God, it's going to be so expensive." Actually, it's not. It's not that bad. The actual cost of developing and then manufacturing a custom domino is a little over $1,000, and that's it. So it's not a terribly burdensome investment. So if I wanted to, I could have 11 domino positions on my deck if my table was big enough. But right now I'm showing you an example of a two row deck where we have a total of 7. I could have an 8th domino over here if I needed to, but then I also have the ability to put 3 more in positions 9, 10, and 11. There is a 12th position that will be released in the not too distant future. We're working on that now, so that way you'll have 3 complete rows of 4 dominoes for a total of 12. And we're just about finished now with the application of our reagents in duplicate. Now you'll notice how Andrew moved around in such a way as to avoid the clean tips and to lower the pipette into the waste bin before it released the tip. That is the result of a customer request. We have a pretty robust voice of the customer initiative at Andrew Alliance, so that if you would like us to look into adding a feature, you say, hey Tom, it would be great if Andrew could do this or do that. We take that actually very seriously. We have a very robust initiative internally where our development team evaluates the feasibility of making material changes to Andrew Plus's capabilities. So don't hesitate to bring an idea forward if you want us to consider it. Even if it seems outlandish, just let us know, and we'll tell you if we can do it or not. So when the run is done, Andrew will flash his light 3 times, then you'll hear a bell saying, "Hey, I'm finished." Just like that. So if I'm off in another part of the lab and I hear that go off, that means he's done. Now what you'll see is this on your screen. You'll see it. When you look at your tablet or your PC, you'll see this here: experiment finished with no errors, which is what we want to see. We want to validate this report to release Andrew so he can be used for another experiment. But before I do that, I wanted to just briefly say that if you have questions about the details of the protocol that you just ran, they're all documented here in the report. So you'll be able to see everything that you used, everything that was run, and there'll be a timestamp of all the protocol steps that took place. So if your intention is to use Andrew in a GXP environment, you'll have all the audit trail capabilities that you need as well. And I'll click on validate report, and I'll come back to my quick access screen where you'll see all the experiments I've been playing with lately. So, and that pretty much sums it up, Rizwan.
Well, thank you for that. That's actually the most detailed presentation I've ever seen, and I've not seen the whole workflow before like that. So that's been really interesting to see the different ways that it works. So,
excellent.
And I actually found it really interesting you're talking about the modulation, making the bespokeness of the Dominoes for clients, because I was thinking when you were saying that must be pretty expensive then to sort of the machining and setting it up for a particular client, but obviously that isn't the case.
It's a valid question to ask, and we appreciate it whenever it comes up, but we're happy to let people know that it's actually a very well commoditized process, so it's not terribly expensive at all.
Yeah,
so,
and obviously you talk about the protocols. So how many protocols are already built in into the system?
Great question. So we have an expanding protocol library that Nigel and our marketing team are working on to basically enhance the knowledge base that we have within OneLab. So if you're looking for a guide or a template from which to expand your usage of Pipette Plus or Andrew Plus, and maybe want to use that and as a foundation and refine it further, we have protocols on board OneLab that you can refer to. Plus, we also can provide you with assistance with some method development as well. If you're interested in creating a protocol from scratch, that's one of the things that I like to do for customers. So certainly reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you figure out how to get started. Access to OneLab is completely free of charge for all users in the cloud. So anybody can register for access anytime and start looking around, and they can ping us with questions, and we can help them figure out the best approach to using Andrew Plus for their applications.
Fantastic. Now you also talked about obviously the Dominoes, and you've got, I think you said 8 on your bench, but you could have
7.
Sorry, you've got 7, but you could have up to 12, I think, or you've got 11 at the moment, but you're looking at the 12th one, I think you said.
Yeah, so we can have. So if I wanted to put one over here and then have one here, and here right now, I could make that happen. So I would be able to run up to have up to 11 domino positions in usage right now. So there is in development a 12th position, which may become consumable specific, although the details on that are still to be determined. Right.
So the reason I was asking was that how does that help in terms, or does it help in terms of supporting scalable changes in throughput? So
it does. So if I want to not run an assortment of Dominoes, but I'm interested in actually producing a number of tubes or a number of plates, for example,
sure,
I would be able to take advantage of all of these multiple positions to enable a scalable filling of tubes and plates if my projects require.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fine. And obviously OneLab in particular, how does that sort of establish a foundation for use of Andrew Alliance tools in the
So
creation of that
OneLab
model?
is really where it all starts. OneLab is our protocol design, management, and execution software,
Right,
and it is cloud native, so it is accessible free of charge. And any devices that you choose to get from Andrew Alliance can be paired to the cloud and enable multiple access to those devices for free by all the users that that you have in the lab. Those devices, like Andrew Plus and Pipette Plus, can be used interchangeably. We also have some connected devices that pair to OneLab as well that,
right.
that enable plate shaking, heating, and cooling. And those can be used in guided manual protocols with Pipette Plus, or they can be incorporated into a fully automated protocol with Andrew Plus.
Fantastic. All right. Now, looking at the way you're using the system, it seems pretty straightforward if you're using the software. So what level of training do you actually need to start using the Pipette Plus and Andrew Plus?
Great question. So Andrew Plus and Pipette Plus are really designed to make things as easy as possible for people to get started. You don't need to have robotic experience or programming experience to get methods up and running. Typically, we can have an Andrew Plus system up and running in a customer's laboratory in less than an hour.
Right. Fantastic.
Training is very straightforward. You can start running liquid handling experiments, very quickly. The software is designed to be very user friendly, very intuitive. It's basically drag and drop, as indicated by the arrows that are flying around the screen as you look at the protocol outline. So it really is meant to be a very interactive and fun experience for customers, so that they don't have to worry so much about programming, and they can be more creative in terms of how they want to set their protocols up.
Fine. Okay. Well, that's good. Thank you. And in terms of sort of the applications that you can use it for, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's thousands of applications, but how broad a range of applications can you use the Andrew
The breadth
Plus?
is pretty significant. I mean, what we typically see that Andrew Plus is being used for sample and reagent preparation,
Right.
Across a variety of different life science and diagnostic applications. So if you're looking, for example, to do sample and reagent prep for things like qPCR or flow cytometry or next generation sequencing or immunoassay or LCMS, for example, we've got you covered in terms of being able to provide you with a flexible platform for sample and reagent prep.
Fantastic. All right. And in terms of support, how much support or what support do people get, particularly in this current climate where a lot of people are still in lockdown? So what is the support available to people out there if they are sort of taking up a system like this?
So one of the things that we have available within OneLab is access to an intercom portal, which puts you in touch with people like myself and the rest of our colleagues in Geneva. And we'll be able to respond to any questions that you have in real time, because we monitor intercom regularly. So if you're logged into OneLab and getting ready to do something and you have a question, we're just a click away, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. And so finally, because we haven't even mentioned it yet, but Andrew Alliance is now obviously part of Waters.
Yes.
I don't want to get in trouble by not mentioning it. So,
Absolutely.
but obviously that's opened up other opportunities, hasn't it, in terms of
Absolutely,
the applications and the workflows that
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Plus can be used for.
Exactly. What it's been able to do is to allow us to get to a position of making an application-specific configuration available for customers who are interested in incorporating Andrew Plus into an LCMS workflow. So a couple of examples of initiatives that we have include N-glycan analysis. We have a protocol that includes specific Dominoes and protocol steps that are part of a GlycoWorks protocol, which is available in the library that you and I were discussing before. So if a customer wants to download those specific protocols and get going, we have them ready to go right now. Another thing that we're working on is for amino acid analysis, and the scripts, if you will, for those were just released not too long ago, so they can be used as well by LCMS customers.
Fantastic. Well, and I know you've done webinars. There's some webinars out there on demand as well. So if people want to find out more about that, there are webinars available, and I will hopefully add a link maybe to one of those webinars on demand so that you can see that as well. So
Absolutely.
that's been very, very thorough. Thank you for taking the time out to do that, because I know it's never easy to do a video and demonstrate something, and you were sort of showing a number of different things with your webcam, moving it around, and I really appreciate taking the time out to do that, because it's never easy to do that.
It's my pleasure, Rizwan. Thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you. I know you've done a number of these with other people, so I'm flattered to have the chance.
No, it's very, very good and very thorough. And you know, I learned a lot more about Andrew Plus than I knew before I started. And I thought I knew a lot about Andrew Plus, having done so many videos with you guys. But actually, I learned a lot today as well. So all I say is thank you very much for taking time out. I hope everybody found that useful in terms of learning more about Andrew Plus, Pipette Plus, and all the different functionality, and the OneLab, of course, I mustn't forget that, and different functionalities there and the applications that you can use it for. If you'd like to know more, then there will be a link to go to the website to find out more information. You can also see Alma's video, so I'll put the link to that, which is on my YouTube channel, so you can see that video as well. So watch that, both, and compare and contrast. Maybe we can have a vote on who did you like better, Alma and Tom. And yeah, and as I said, check out the videos, check out the links. If you've got any questions for Tom specifically, please put them in the comment section below the video. I'm sure we'll be happy to answer them. And as always, Tom, thank you very much. Stay well and stay safe. And to all of you as well, until next time, stay well and stay safe. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.